Country Life on Midlands 103. Brought to you by W. Orshaw, Burlington Business Park, Tullamore. Supplier of New Holland's tractors in the Midlands. worshaw.ie.
Now, good evening and welcome to Country Life here on Midlands 103. It's MJ Clery with you until 8 p.m. this evening, bringing you the latest from the Midlands and further afield from the worlds of agriculture, food and agri-business. As always, each Wednesday, it's the 25th of February, and the rain shows no sign of abating. Heavy rain over the course of the last week, and we're getting well enough of it now. In a moment I'm going to be talking to Aidan Brennan from the Farmers Journal about different dairy issues, and slurry storage being a big one now at the moment. More on that in just a second. Later in the programme I'm going to be speaking to Leishman James Maloney from Enterprise Ireland about their Innovation Arena, which is on show each year at the Ploughing Championships. One of my favourite stands, I must say. I always spend a good couple of hours in it interviewing different entrepreneurs and business owners about what they're doing and how they're trying to make your life easier as a farmer. It's currently open for applications, so if you're an agri-business, stay tuned as there will be more on that a little bit later. News for tillage farmers this week. There is a tillage support payment. It's just announced as of yesterday. How much will it mean for you as a tillage farmer? That's the important question. John Murphy is the newly appointed tillage chair from the IFA, and he has more on that later. Also, BVD samples, the bane of farmers' lives each spring this time of the year. Did I take the sample? Where are they? Did I leave them in the fridge? Do I have a sample to match for this tag, etc., etc.? We're all well used to it. It's been on the go for a number of years now, I think 13. And Patrick Donoghue from Animal Health Ireland is going to explain, I should say, where we are at with this national eradication programme. Is there an end in sight? That's the question, really. So more on that a little bit later. As always, text me or WhatsApp me 083 30 10 103. Happy to put anything to our guests here this evening. As I said, Aidan Brennan from the Farmers Journal joins me. Aidan, thanks for taking my call this evening.
No worries, MJ.
Lots to get through in the world of dairy, Aidan. But I suppose firstly, a word on your own farm. How is calving going? How's the spring going for you?
Sure, not too bad. I think we're farming here in Thurles and Tipperary, and I think we're getting less rain than elsewhere, to be honest. And look, we're going okay. We can't complain now. Touch wood, things are going fine. Yeah,
calving in general seems to be going well for farmers. I don't hear too much. Obviously, look, lots of hassle, late nights and everything. But in relation to sickness and illness, not hearing a whole pile at the moment. Calves seem to be healthy. They're on the ground, and it's progressing well.
Yeah, it seems to be. I think cows are in good body condition score coming into the winter, and I think they've calved down well. Reports are quite so that's a good sign in terms of problems. There doesn't seem to be too many problems around, which is a positive. So no, everyone seems happy enough so far. But look, February is often easier, MJ. March is usually a more problematic month because there's more animals around. There's later calving cows as well, and they tend to have bigger calves, and then you've scour problems in calves and animal health issues. So March can often be more difficult than February in many ways.
And on that point of more stock around, weather is a big issue across the country at this stage. Saw a stat the other day. I think it's rained every day in 2026. Possibly there was one day it didn't start raining until a minute past 12. I think we had a rebate for an hour for 24 hours. But lot of rain, and slurry storage, look, is the issue on farms, and trying to get slurry out to fields without mucking them up. It does kind of show you it's a year like this, Aidan, where we look at these dates and we look back at a lovely dry December where you had lots of opportunity for spreading. We weren't allowed to do it. Come out here to the middle of January and suddenly there's a deluge of rain everywhere. You have to scratch your head a little bit at these dates sometimes.
Sometimes you do, yeah, for sure. But at the same time, there's good signs to say why you shouldn't spread in December. And it's not just weather related, it's actually, is there enough grass growth there to take up the nutrients that are applied? So you can argue that, if we wanted a fully weather-based system, we wouldn't be spreading any slurry at all this January or indeed February. So look, you need to take it as it comes, but it is really difficult. And when I said that spring is good, that's aside from the fact that weather has been awful. So a lot of farmers now who would be planning to have cows out grazing, even for a couple of hours per day, the majority of them haven't been able to do that. And that's put a lot of added strain and pressure on farmyards and on facilities and on workload, because there's a lot of extra work when animals can't go outside. And so farmers are bearing the brunt of that at the moment. And slurry storage is a big problem. It's a symptom of that. The fact that ground is so wet, a lot of farmers haven't been able to spread as much as they should. And as a result, then it's leading to extra work because they're moving slurry around to different tanks where there's any little bit of capacity at all. But the only good news, I would say, looking at the long range forecast, it is looking better for early March. And I think there's a little bit of high pressure coming, which might help things settle down a little bit. So, look, for me, it's not all lost yet. I mean, it has been a wet February, but if we get a good March or even a normal March at this stage, I think most farmers will take it and we'll be back on track.
Yeah, I haven't seen one cow out in, I suppose, this area or this neck of the woods and driving around over the course of the last period of time. Any over North Tip, South Tip? Have you seen any cows out, Aidan, in your neck of the woods?
There are small herds out, small pockets of cows out here and there. Most farmers I'm speaking to that would be very gung-ho for grazing, let's say, those that are always early grazing. They've only half the amount grazed that they should have. So there are cows out, they're getting out bit by bit, but it's very gradual. They're only out for a couple of hours at a time. There's a lot of work involved, on-off grazing, bringing cows in the evening time. It's kind of part and parcel of it if you want to go outside grazing, I suppose, for the benefit of it in terms of getting that high quality energy and high quality protein feed into those animals. But it is a bit of a slog at the moment.
In relation to calves, in a piece on last week's paper, and it stated calf prices double for second year running. Frisian bull calves aged 3 to 6 weeks averaged €288 a head in early February just gone by, compared to €72 a head 2 years ago. It's a strong calf trade.
Oh, really strong. I mean, they bite the hand off you for calves at the moment. It's amazing. A huge turnaround in fortunes, as I say, compared to 2 years ago. And even last year, they would not have started as strong as they have now last year. So it's really remarkable. And I suppose a reflection of the buoyancy that's in the beef trade at the moment, and as a reflection of the demand for calves that we're seeing at the moment. So it's a real boost to dairy farmers. The high demand for calves means that, they can sell calves at 3 weeks of age there freely, get good money for it, helps to make up some of the difference in the lost output from lower milk price. But it's positive for everyone, that there's such buoyancy in the market.
In relation to the fancier calves, shall we say, Angus's whiteheads, what are the reports coming back on the price for those, Aidan?
Sure, for good ones, if they're out of decent cows, you're talking about, a more British Frisian background maybe. Sure, you can get any. I was talking to a farmer the other day who sold Angus's and Whiteheads, Herefords, and he got $550 out of the yard. Again, 2 to 3 weeks of age. Now, he showed me a video of them beforehand, and they were fine calves. Really strong, lovely shine off them. And high CBV as well. So that's coming through now as well. A lot of these calves are actually AI bred. So dairy farmers are selecting cows that they don't really want a heifer calf from. So they're putting sex semen into the cows that they do want a heifer calf from. And then the other animals, then they're using AI beef. And sometimes it's Limousine or Charlie or Belgian Blue is popular as well. But, the majority of those animals are going in calf to either Hereford or Angus. And they're getting these calves that are worth, between €400 and €500 for male calves. Probably a little bit lighter for the bull calves, €390, €400 maybe for a heifer calf, I should say. But it's great money and there's great demand for it. Both farmers and exporters, there hadn't been much exporting of calves yet. The seas have been rough and some of the ships haven't been sailing. They're not letting animal transport on. But they're still buying those animals. They're keeping them in their sites and rearing them up, and they're very active as well. So there's a good demand between exporters and farmer buyers.
Yeah, just on the CBV, we had a piece last week, Teagasc Outport Report for 2025. I think the figure was 61% of beef coming from the dairy herd now. So it does show sex semen's working. Farmers are doing exactly what you're saying. They're using more beef sires. And it's a positive thing. It's a good thing to see better quality calves on the ground.
Oh, no, 100%. And I mean, I've been on the show over the last few years talking about the calf problem. What to do with the dairy calf and how we're going to manage it, and should Jersey calves be banned, and all this talk around managing the dairy animal or the beef animal from the dairy herd. But it just goes to show when the market has improved, the problem really has gone away. But at the same time, farmers have made the effort in terms of breeding a better animal. and we're seeing huge gains. Actually, I had a figure or an article in the Farmers Journal a few weeks ago looking at the changes in the CBV and how that's the CBV, for anyone that doesn't know, it's the commercial beef value. So it looks at just the carcass value and the age to slaughter of animals. So just the beef traits, and it's showing that if you put an emphasis on breeding better bulls, putting better beef bulls, I should say, into your dairy cows, you'll generate this calf that's worth more for the farmer that buys it, and also increase the demand for those calves around the ring. So I suppose we'd be encouraging farmers that are buying calves to ask the beef farmer or the dairy farmer, or to ask the farmer that they're buying the calves off for the CBV values, because it's very hard to tell a good calf from a bad calf at 2 or 3 weeks of age. There's a much bigger difference, or much more obvious difference, at 18 months or 2 years of age. But the CBV value is actually very accurate at detecting the really good ones and putting a better value on those compared to a lower CBV animal, which shouldn't be worth as much.
Just on milk prices, at the end of 2025, milk prices moved in a direction that dairy farmers didn't want to see. Start of 2026, we saw a couple of the processors holding for a couple of months with a view to, I suppose, trying to get it back on an even keel, if you will. What are we looking at coming into 26 now, as we get back into, I suppose, proper milk production months in the coming months?
Yeah, so I mean, at the moment it's in around 35 to 36 cents a litre of a base price. Now some of the co-ops are paying bonuses on top of that for out of season milk and all that. That's for January milk. So, it's not really reflective of where the market is at, probably because very little milk is delivered in January. It's not really until March and April and May that we're going to see, the real impacts in terms of what is actually the milk price going to be that's going to impact on farmers. Look, the general market is more positive than it was. It has certainly been better in terms of the European dairy markets. The GDT, the global dairy trade auctions, have been really positive. So the last auction went up 3.6%. The auction before that and the one before that again were over 6 and 7%. So we're seeing big increases there. So there's more demand for dairy now than there was at the back end of last year. Certainly, it was very negative at the end of 2025. And I think the market has said to itself, we overcompensated. We went too low and we've gone back again. So prices for skim milk powder, whole milk powder, butter's up, 300 to 400 euros a tonne compared to where it was 6 or 8 weeks ago. And that's all positive, but it's not back to where we were, at the peak of 2025. And it's not looking like 2026 is going to get back there either, at least not in the next couple of months, because there is lots of milk in the world. We're seeing the US pumping out milk supply. European producers such as Germany, Netherlands, France have all had good years, and Ireland had a really good year. So Irish milk supply last year was up 4.8%. New Zealand is having a really good year as well, and they're heading into their autumn now. They've had plenty of rain this summer. There's plenty of grass available. It means farmers there won't be culling cows like they would normally because they've got more grass on hand than they expected. So they're going to keep pumping out milk, I'd say, for the next few weeks. So that's not a month. So that's not good from a milk price perspective, because where there's loads of supply, generally it follows that prices will fall. But it's in a kind of a funny time at the moment. We know there's more milk coming, yet dairy prices are increasing. So it's a little bit odd. It's hard to explain it currently what's happening in the dairy market, but it does give farmers, I suppose, that little bit more certainty that, well, prices shouldn't fall any further from where they are. And in fact, you'll see, farmers and IFA and ICMSA calling for price increases now over the coming months because the market has shifted upwards. Of course, what the dairy co-ops will be telling us is that they didn't go as low as they should have, and they've been supporting prices over the last few months. So there'll be a bit of a trade-off going on, I would say, over the next few months. Yeah,
a little bit of trading, as you'd imagine. Lastly, Aidan, I have some competition on the airwaves, and it's in the form of yourself now, the new podcast, Inside Dairy. Tell us a little bit about it, Aidan, please.
Yeah, so it's a new podcast from the Farmers Journal. It's dairy specific. We're going to do it out. We're going to publish it on Spotify or on the Farmers Journal app every Wednesday, and it's available there for farmers to download or go on and listen to it on iTunes or Spotify or the Farmers Journal app. It is a premium podcast. It's available to all our digital subscribers, and you can subscribe to the podcast as well. It's myself and Dara Craig, who'll be well known to many of your listeners, a star footballer for Roscommon. And a proud member of the Irish Farmers Journal dairy team. So between the two of us, we're going to go through the issues of the day, what's happening on the ground in terms of milk prices and grass growth and grazing conditions, and we have advice and interviews with experts from around the country. So we'll have to have you on someday, MJ.
Absolutely. How long is it going to run for, Ed?
Well, we're hoping
as
to
in
keep going.
not the season. I mean the actual episode length.
Yeah, well, I was just looking at this week's episode is 1 hour and 20, so we're long. Generally, we aim for about an hour, but it depends on how many interviews we have in the week. So this week we have we've actually a vet, Caroline Farrell from Mullingar, it might be known to your listeners as well, a large animal vet, talking about what she's experiencing in this spring in terms of animal health. We also have Michael O'Donovan, a researcher from Teagasc, talking about grass and grazing conditions and what the plan should be now, given the wet weather, what we've discussed earlier on.
Yeah, well, the one thing I would say about listening, obviously I'm one-sided with the programme, but it really does suit farmers. You know, you're on a tractor, you're working, whatever, you have headphones in, you can listen away, it doesn't affect your work, and you can learn something as you go. So podcasts and audio does suit farmers, you know, better than most types of media. So I'm sure you'll have a big listenership with it, Aidan, and we look forward to tuning in. Thanks for talking to me this evening, Aidan. We speak to you again on the programme.
No bother. Thanks very much, MJ.
Aidan Brennan there from the Farmers Journal, and look, a lot going on in dairy at the moment. Busy time of the year. I suppose the pertinent one there, milk prices, and mildly positive is what I would say there in relation to that. The global dairy trade auctions really are the places to look, and when they start creeping up, then it does have a knock-on effect. Now, coming up after the break, tillage is what we are speaking about, and tillage farmers, a much needed support payment announced by the Minister this week. John Murphy from County Wexford IFA Tillage Chair will join me in a moment.
Country Life on Midlands 103.
With W.R. Shaw, family owned and serving the Midlands since 1982, we're Ireland's largest independent agri-dealer, specialising in New Holland tractors and parts. With over 40 years' experience, we provide top quality sales, service and support. Visit W.R. Shaw in Tullamore and Carlow or online at wrshaw.ie.
And you're very welcome back to Country Life here on Midlands 103. Now we're moving on to tillage, and we have John Murphy, IFA Tillage Chair, joining me on the line. John, many thanks for speaking to me this evening. First time I've had you on the programme. You're after taking over from Kieran McAvoy, Leash Man. Can you just tell us, John, before we get going, what part of the country are you from? Obviously you're tillage farming. Where are you doing that?
Yeah, thanks MJ, and good evening to your listeners. I'm farming in Wexford, just between Ferns and Enniscorthy. Do a range of tillage farming, many different kind of crops, and I'm also dairy farming as well. There with my sister, alongside my sister, for the last 10 to 12 years. But tillage is the main enterprise on my farm.
Yeah, very good. You're kept going, John. IFA Tillage Chair then on top of it all, along with the dairy farming and the tillage enterprise. We're sticking to tillage this evening, John. Tillage support scheme. Obviously, look, we don't need to talk about tough, very, very tough couple of years for tillage farmers. This tillage support scheme, what does it mean for farmers? Or what's it worth to tillage farmers?
Yeah, sure. Look at MJ. It was announced yesterday by the Minister, and look, we welcome it. It's something we've worked with the Minister and the Department for the last number of months, dating back to when we had our meeting in Naas, where there was 1,000 tillage farmers filled the room, and it delivered a great message to the Minister, and it gave him a great platform to be able to get the support for us. Basically, a farmer with 100 hectares of tillage would receive €110 a hectare, and then it starts coming down in increments after that. But the majority of people around 100 hectares will receive that 110, hopefully paid out sometime in the month of March. There's a very simple form to fill up on Ag Food to get it sent out, and it's going to be based on 25 BIS payments.
Yeah, so you need to log on to your Ag Food sooner rather than later, get your Ag consultant to do it, and then your 110 per hectare up to 100 hectares. Look, obviously you would like more, John. We always want more when it comes to payments, but are you reasonably satisfied with this payment?
Look, our ask was 65 million at the time, and that's kind of a figure that IFA came up with, budgeted themselves, but also the Food Vision Group was a recommendation from which Minister McConnell, the previous Agriculture Minister, set up. But that's the figure we need to get to in supports in order to grow what the government proposed in their plan for government at the start. So we will be pushing hard to get to the point where we're receiving the 65 million to grow the industry. Our sector has been depleted year on year. The acreage has been dropping over the last 10 years, and look at it, they're looking to have 400,000 hectares under tillage by 2030, but without support that ain't going to happen, and that is recognised, and it was recognised by all political parties before the last government was formed.
Yeah, absolutely, John. And as we said, look, we featured plenty here in the programme. A very, very tough couple of years for tillage farmers. So, look, payment there, go onto your ag food and get that in the next number of days. When I have you, John, you are obviously IFA member, so we have to speak about the ongoing protest that's occurring. And I believe you're in Dublin this evening yourself. You're part of the Wexford cohort now that's on duty for a few hours.
Yeah, Wexford took over here at 5 o'clock. Sligo was on before us. We're here till 11. Look, it's well known what our ask is. We're fed up with this double standard, that one person can do one thing and there's another rule for the rest of us. It's not right, and Minister Hayden is going to have to stand up here and be counted. When he went into the job as Agricultural Minister, he said he'd have farmers' backs. He claims every day that he puts on the wellies and he does the work. But we don't see him having our back at this stage. All we see him is back in big business.
I'm going to just be devil's advocate for a minute with you, John. I saw this was raised with your President, Francie Gorman, on prime time back a couple of weeks ago. And obviously the whole issue here is on South American beef being brought in. And it was put to Francie on the programme that evening. And since you're tillage chair, you're probably better versed to answer this, in that South American grain, look, is brought up from the Mercosur countries, as we know, regularly into Europe and into Ireland. And it's fed then into Irish cattle. So it was put to him that there's a bit of a juxtaposition there, if you will. We're complaining about South American beef coming in, yet South American grain is okay. What's your answer to that, John?
Well, look, we are all of the realisation we produce about something around the 2 million tonne mark here in the country. We import up to 4 million, sometimes 5 million tonne of feedstuffs. It's coming from a range of places around the world. There has been a big focus on what has been coming from Mercosur countries in the last number of months. But until we're self-sufficient, I suppose we don't have a choice of what we can get. Now, there's a lot of this brought in by mills which might not use a lot of Irish grain. They prefer to bring it in off a boat. It'd be for handliness sake or price. As you well know, everything always comes down to price. But my idea of this is, an IFA launched a paper in the last couple of weeks, how to use more native grain. And we want to try to get every mill in the country using a percentage of native grain in their nuts or in their ration that they're selling to farmers. And to me, that mitigates any imports that's coming in. The real truth of it is, if we could double our acreage, we'd be more or less self-sufficient by protein and maize, which would be soy and maize. But without the support, we can't get to that figure. So it's a kind of a chicken and egg scenario. And look, I know tillage farmers have been disgruntled by, if you want to call it, the double standard is there, but we can't just let our livestock not be fed either. But until we can get to the point that we can grow enough, we are always going to be subject to imports, and we're probably going to be subject to imports anyway, because there's loads of mills that are not using any Irish grain. And I'd ask them mills to come talk to us to see how we could work it, that they could find a way of using some inclusion rate. There's a lot of good mills in the country that are using a very high percentage of grain. I know some mills up to 40% in their ration would be Irish. But look, we're always going to need maize. We're always going to need soya, because we're not capable of growing them products in this country. And them are very good products to feed cattle. Yes, there is a problem with other imported stuff, like the palm kernel, soya hulls, stuff like that is what we're trying to grow the tillage sector here, so we don't have to import that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, John. John, we'll say many thanks for joining me here on the programme. We will speak to you again. And look, you're up in Dublin there this evening. You're obviously a busy man. You're taking time out of your schedule to do it. So we will let you back, and we will speak to you again here on Country Life. Many thanks, John.
Thank you, MJ.
John Murphy there, IFA Tillage Chair, and that tillage payment is now available. It is €110 per hectare up to 100 hectares. So get on to your ag advisor or whoever does your paperwork, or indeed maybe log on to Ag Food yourself. Just make sure to get it in. It has to be put in through the Ag Food system, and it's based on your 2025 BIS payment. So just to be aware of that. Now, coming up after the break, James Maloney, leashman from Enterprise Ireland, is going to talk to us about the innovation arena at the ploughing. Applications are now open if you wish to join the innovation arena, so stay tuned for that.
Country Life on Midlands 103.
Brought to you by W.R. Shaw, where New Holland isn't just a brand, it's our passion. For over 40 years, we've been Ireland's trusted name for New Holland tractors, parts and farm machinery. Whether you need new, used or ex-hire tractors, we've got you covered. wrshaw.ie.
And you're very welcome back to Country Life here in Midlands 103. Now, innovation is what we're speaking about for the next few moments. We have leashman James Maloney on the line. James, many thanks for taking my call this evening.
Thanks, MJ. No problem at all.
James, Enterprise Ireland run the innovation arena at the ploughing. You're with Enterprise Ireland now for the last number of years, and lots of our listeners here will be familiar with the innovation arena at the ploughing. They'll pop in and then they'll see all of these different businesses, agri-businesses, be it apps, be it things to make your life easier, whatever the case may be. We'll speak about the application process in a moment, James, but I must just tip my cap to this whole concept of the innovation arena. I love it. I go in every year and I interview most people in there, and it's always really, really interesting what they're doing. And it is a great initiative, and it's something that's really, really of interest to farmers across the country.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely, MJ, and we'd know by the footfall that comes into the hub or the innovation arena. We run in association with the National Ploughing Association. It's a real hive of activity. Just detailing on that, like we did a survey of the companies that had exhibited there, and just like yourself, did 100% recommend it to any company that's starting up or that has any kind of innovation in agriculture, technology and the sustainability side to come and exhibit there. So yeah, it's a big success for us.
Yeah, what I like to see, James, is when you're in there, you kind of get a feel for what's current in agriculture at the moment, and definitively this year and last year you are seeing more of a push towards tech and technology. I think most businesses in there now, obviously not all, but they have an accompanying app where the data or the details are fed back and you can look at it in real time. And it really seems now that information and ease of use is what companies are trying to do for farmers.
Yeah, and it is, and it's all about data. I think if you look at a few of the winners, there are the people that scored fairly high in the process last year. They were using or starting to integrate AI into the app and getting some smart thinking on the solutions for farmers. Like we all know farming is a busy job. This time of the year now, cows out calving, and the last thing they want to be doing is pushing for paperwork and taking time out that they don't have. So we see a lot of that technology looking to aid the farmer in their processes and deliver more efficiency for them on farm and hopefully more profit. As you know, like that's one of the main drivers we have, along with the kind of farming in a sustainable manner.
For businesses or startups who are interested in this, James, what position do they have to be in order to apply?
Oh well, look, we'll take anyone, MJ. We're from the farmer-led innovation, right up to the top companies who are delivering new machines and technologies on an annual basis. So it's that great kind of barometer. If you're in the innovation arena, you get the chance to talk to your peers, learn a bit of how they've gone on the journey of scaling up a product, getting staff on board, doing the R&D, and eventually getting the product to market and getting it to the audience, like at the National Ploughing Championships. And the other huge benefit is, like, if you're looking at market research, you get 220,000 visitors to the National Ploughing Championships in 3 days, with everyone giving your feedback. And the companies that exhibit there and the entrepreneurs and the farmers that come in with us, they have to be able to capture that and bring it back into maybe tailor their innovation. It might be what they brought to the innovation arena, but after 3 days they might decide to pivot and go in a new direction with it. So it's really, really a great hub for all them learning outcomes.
Must be really interesting for yourself, James, working in this, to be speaking to these would-be innovators or entrepreneurs or people who are problem solvers. They're looking at things a little bit differently to everybody else. Must be very refreshing and also probably keep you on your toes.
Yeah, it actually really is. And if I have to tip my hat to these guys as well, because the commitment and the foresight and the kind of thinking outside the box mentality that they have, there's a real can-do attitude. And I think that's kind of, if you look at the companies that have grown out of that, like a lot of our big agri-tech companies are family-owned businesses that are third generation, second generation companies that have started right at the farm level, have moved it on and scaled right up. And that's the real rewarding part about it. Like, if you're in this role and you're looking for creating jobs outside of Dublin or the big capitals, really agri-tech is where it's going to be at, like for regions like, the Midlands and the south of the country. So it is very rewarding, and it's great to give them a bit of a leg up on the journey. And ultimately our goal in Enterprise Ireland is to scale up these companies, create strong, vibrant regional economies and sustainable jobs. And that comes from if you have a product that someone wants, it comes from innovation and from getting your product in front of your customer.
When you're talking about the importance of regional economies, James, I don't think you could look much further than the agri-industry. When you look at those really established companies, just off the top of my head, the likes of McHale in Mayo, these places that are traditionally, predominantly, have very poor employment rates, lots of immigration. Here you have a massive company exporting all over the world. Like, it's a real success story, and it's based in agriculture.
Based in agriculture and on the fields in Mayo, the toughest kind of silage conditions you will find in Europe, or among them anyway. And that machine was designed by Pádraig McHale and started out in, I think, in the 80s, applying over, I think, 250 people there in Mayo. So a real success story. And we'll find that building throughout the country as kind of companies like that learn and develop along the way. So it is a kind of great to look at the role models to be the catalyst of kind of future developments that we have for the industry.
James, and I'll let you go on this one, but for listeners this evening, we might have somebody in Laois, Offaly or Westmeath. They might have an idea. They might even be working away in a workshop in the evening times, coming up with something, a simple little device that might be in a position to help farmers, but maybe they don't have the confidence, if you will, or the know-how to do anything with this, or to try and sell it, to bring it to market, as they say in the industry. What advice would you give them, James?
I'd say there's no such thing as a bad idea. Any idea is a good one, and there's what we're geared up with is loads of people to help to bring that idea to fruition, whether it's through ourselves in Enterprise Ireland, or at the earlier stage with the local enterprise office, which in Tullamore or Portlaoise, Mullingar, Longford, wherever it is in the Midlands, that they'll find someone there that will get that idea and help them progress it. I don't think it is a daunting first step, but once you take that step, there's so much support on the journey to help you get there, and bottom it out with a feasibility study or an innovation voucher that we can guide or put a mentor with you to help you on the journey. So it doesn't have to be all that kind of a lonely maverick journey that you're on your own. There is guide rails there, and there is people who are, this is our job to kind of bring these innovations to fruition. So don't be afraid to reach out to any of us, even the Enterprise Ireland office in Athlone. We're open for any amount of queries and help in this area.
Very good, James. Well, I look forward to visiting the Innovation Arena at next September's ploughing, and hopefully somebody this evening is listening who will be there. And as I said, great initiative. Love visiting it, as do lots of listeners here, because it's so interesting, and we see so many new businesses and innovative products. So, James, many thanks for joining me this evening on the programme, and we'll speak to you again here on Country Life.
Thanks a million, MJ.
James Maloney there from Enterprise Ireland, and I really do mean that when I say I enjoy visiting that. I think I pretty much interview most people at that most years. Off the top of my head, I'm just thinking back to products over the years. Nick Cotter Agritech was one from last year, where a young man from County Limerick, he had weighing scales for sheep, but then that fed information back to a dosing gun. So the dosing gun then gave the exact amount of dose to the sheep, given their weight. And I just thought it was such an ingenious idea to stop waste of dosage, and also then to just have such accurate information. There was also another one, and man's name escapes me, the company name escapes me, but it was a very simple one where it was a weighing scale basically at a water trough, and you could get information on the weight gain on cattle while they were drinking water. I believe that company has gone out to the US now, gone out to Texas. So it shows you that these straightforward ideas, and what you think are straightforward ideas, go on to massive, massive success. Now, coming up after the break, we're going to be talking about BVD. Where are the samples? Are they in the fridge? Did I lose them? I don't have the corresponding one to the tag. One is empty on the text message. These are the problems that we have year in, year out, and farmers have been taking BVD samples for a long time. So Patrick Donoghue, he's the CEO of Animal Health Ireland. He's going to tell us why we're doing it and why it's important in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Country Life on Midlands 103.
With W.R. Shaw. Looking for the best in farm machinery? We've been supplying top quality New Holland tractors and parts and providing service since 1982. Our expert team is here to keep your farm running smoothly, with branches in Tullamore and Carlow. Visit wrshaw.ie today.
And you're very welcome back to Country Life here on Midlands 103. Now we're talking BVD with Patrick Donoghue from Animal Health Ireland. Patrick, many thanks for taking my call this evening.
Not at all, MJ. Great to be on.
Patrick, BVD and BVD samples, it is something that farmers up and down the country know all too well. As I said before the break, where's the sample? Did we lose it? Is it empty? Is it full? Did we send it off in time? Did I get the text message? The questions just go on and on and on. So I suppose the question is, Patrick, for BVD and Animal Health Ireland, it's a double-barrel question really. Firstly, Animal Health Ireland's association with it and function, and then crack on the BVD. Why are we doing it?
Look, thanks very much, and it's great to be on with the farmers and farm families of Midlands 103. Look, at Animal Health Ireland, in the first instance, we're around since 2009, and in reality, we're set up and tasked with eradicating diseases and controlling diseases, and ultimately improving animal health across the sector. Animal health and welfare is critical to what we do. Our €17 billion export sector is based primarily on good, healthy animals. And we're a not-for-profit. We work in partnership with industry, with government, with vets, and critically with the farm families in the area. Like without vets and farmers, we're just an acronym. But with farmers, we try to move the dial and eradicate diseases like BVD. Look, on BVD, yeah, look, it's a program now kind of entering in its 13th, 14th year. There was, farmers, when a new calf is born, they'll tag their calf. The BVD notch sample is sent away for testing and analysing, and please God, a couple of days later they get a text saying that they're clear. Now, farmers are frustrated, and I understand that as CEO of Animal Health Ireland. I do understand the frustration at the very start of this programme, which was necessary. And BVD is a really, really tricky and complex disease that is very infectious and can cause serious damage to a farm. But it was a programme that was needed and has delivered a huge amount of success, notwithstanding the bit of work that we have to do towards the end. And just for the listeners, to put that in context, when the BVD programme started 13, 14 years ago, 11% of all breeding herds in the country had BVD. And today we're down to, at the end of 2025, we're down to just about 200 herds. So we're down to less than 0.5% of herds in the country with BVD. We're down to the final bit. We need to go full throttle at this now, keep the foot on it, and eradicate BVD as quickly as possible, because we are, to all the people who are busy right now, listening to 103 and are coming in maybe from tagging a few calves and calving a few cows, they're saying, geez, why do we have to keep sampling? Because we're so nearly at the end. We're very, very close to BVD eradication, but we just need to meet one final push to get there.
Let's talk about BVD itself, Patrick, because I actually thank God, touch wood, never had a BVD, a PI plus or a PI calf, however you say it. If you do have one, I know the advice is to the knackery, but what happens to that animal? Like what are the symptoms or what occurs?
Look, BVD, bovine viral diarrhea. It's a pretty devastating disease, and when it shows clinically in calves, it's scour, it's dullness, it's a highly infectious disease, and especially in around dairy herds. And like you, look, I have a small suckler farm in North Longford myself, and touch wood, and thank God we've never had it. But in particular in a dairy herd, when a calf is born and it goes into another pen of calves, and that one calf has BVD, it can infect an entire pen of calves, and can be quite troublesome and difficult to get over with. We carried out an economic impact assessment on what the BVD program has achieved, and it's more calves on the ground. It's 60 to 70,000 extra calves on the ground. There's fewer drips being used. There's fewer antibiotics being used. It's a disease eradication program that has worked. And yes, I fully accept that claims were made at the start of this that will be done in maybe 3 or 5 years, and we're still at it. But the facts are that we've gone from 11% of breeding herds to just 200 with it last year. And why I'm making such a push and a real ask of the farm families in the Midlands 103 area tonight is that we've come very close to eradicating diseases before, but we've let it slip. And 2 very quick examples, MJ. In 1990, we had a total of 9 herds, just 9 herds with brucellosis, and we let it slip, and it took another couple of decades to get rid of. And more worryingly, when the TB eradication program started in the 50s, 10 years later or so, Charlie Haughey was Minister for Agriculture, and he wrote to all Department of Agriculture staff congratulating them on eradicating TB, because we had about 45 herds in the country with TB at the time, and we've let it slip, and we see where we are now. So while there's frustrations with that people are still tagging and still testing, and the on-post system can be a bit cumbersome and slow, and I said we're still at it after claims were made that we'll be done in 5 years. We are so close to the end of BVD eradication programme that if everybody puts the shoulder to the wheel and goes full throttle at this, we really and truly can eradicate BVD once and for all.
Just speaking on diseases, Patrick, I know it's not under the ambit of Animal Health Ireland, but obviously blue tongue is in the news at the moment, and we're seeing it. I know temperatures are rising. Should we be concerned?
Look, it's a disease that has caused a lot of problems and trouble, certainly on mainland Europe. The strain that is so far located in Ireland is a less strong of a strain. But I suppose, look, the good thing in there that there's a vaccination approved for the country, and there's a few of them. Like, the clear advice to farmers is talk to your vet, okay? And it's about weighing up that risk and reward. Like, I suppose a simple way to put it is that there's going to be midges in the country, and this is a vector-borne disease that is spread by midges. So if you walk into your field, be it beef or dairy in the summer when midges are at their height, and you've vaccinated, will you be happy to have made that decision when you've seen a lot of midges in the field? Or conversely, if you haven't vaccinated, will you be comfortable with that decision that you've made? So it's truly down to each farmer. The quantity and availability of vaccines isn't going to be a problem. It's a personal question, and it's a personal choice, but it's one that I really think that farmers should consider in consultation with their vet. Is it the right thing for your farm? Does the cost outweigh the reward? All those type of things. Have you got a high value animal that you want to lock in? Then maybe consider vaccination. And for Animal Health Ireland, I know it's slightly outside our bailiwick. Like, every animal counts for us, and it's not just in the last 12 months with beef prices where they are and whatever else. Every animal counts. Make an informed decision. Speak to your vet. Is it the right thing for your farm? And I said, if you're out in your field in the summer and the midges are high, will you be happy or sad with the decision you've made? And that's just the question that I put to farmers tonight.
We're just out of time on that, Patrick. So I'm going to say many thanks for joining me this evening, and we will speak to you again here on the programme.
Great stuff, MJ. Take care.
Many thanks to Patrick Donoghue, their CEO of Animal Health Ireland. And every animal counts. Well said, Patrick, because they do. Not only from a cost perspective, but from a farming perspective. You want to see every animal healthy and thrive for as long as they're on your farm, and that's the name of the game. Sometimes that gets lost in translation with different groups and bodies and whatnot, but that is the reality of farming. And good advice there from Patrick, I'd say. Chat to your vet on that and just see what suits you and what suits your given enterprise in relation to blue tongue. Also, the BVD samples, look, they're going to be around for another while, but I think I was Googling BVD there. If you see an animal afflicted with it, I think you won't mind doing the sampling until we get rid of it. Now, that is it for this evening's programme. I'd like to thank Patrick Donoghue there from Animal Health Ireland, also James Maloney from Enterprise Ireland, John Murphy, IFA Tillage Chair, and Aidan Brennan back at the start of the Hour Busy programme. As always, it's repeated on Sunday morning, 7 a.m. through to 8 a.m. And you can also get us wherever you get your podcasts. You can type in MJ space Clery, Clery. We will pop up Spotify, Google, Apple, any of them. We are there. Usually on Friday they pop up, and then you can listen at your leisure. We're also on YouTube, so you can listen on that platform too. I will be back with you in 7 days' time, as always. And have a good week. People are working hard at the moment, so mind the health, and we will speak to you in 7 days' time. Good night.